So welcome to the fourth class of Urban Transportation and Planning course. So in the previous lecture, we have seen what urbanization is, then what counter-urbanization is, then what are the urban transit issues, and then what urban transport system planning process is all about. So in today's lecture, we will try to discuss urban transport system planning process in detail, then urban mass transportation system, urban transit problems, then travel demand, types of transit system. So most probably we will be able to cover the first 2 points and then travel demand. So we have already seen what transportation planning process is all about. So transportation planning process, it leads to the discussions on various transportation policies and programs. So in the coming classes, we will see what are the transportation programs that are currently in practice in India. So what these planners do, or the transportation planners do, is they develop the information about what? About the impact of implementing any alternative course of action. So for any transportation plan to be developed, alternatives have been proposed, like maybe a scheme A to scheme C, or 4 to 5 schemes will be developed, and then feasibility studies will be conducted. So in the next slides, we will see what are the feasibility studies that should be conducted. So again, the ultimate aim of the process is to provide efficient and safe levels of mobility for passengers as well as for good, because and transportation planning is an ever evolving process. By in the first lecture, we have seen transportation planning or urban transportation planning is a continuously changing process, because the changes are, or the demands are changing day by day. So the need, goal, and objectives are continuously changing in the field of transportation engineering. So the process is always ever evolving. So in this transportation planning process, mainly there are 7 steps. So in step 1, we compute the target year population and economic growth. So I think you might have already studied how to estimate the population in your WST class. So suppose the target year is next 20 years. So there are equations, you depend on arithmetic progression method or geometric progression method, and then you compute the target year population. Okay, so target year population and economic growth will be uh, computed. So economic growth is computed in terms of GDP. You know what GDP is? So usually transportation planning is being done not for 5 or 6 years. It's usually been planned for 20 to 25 years. But even then now this 20 to 25 years is quite dynamic. Okay, so target year population and economic growth is being computed. So economic growth computation we will see in the next module. So step 2 is allocation of land use and then socio-economic projections. So after the population and economic growth has been computed for the 20 years or for next 30 years, land use and socio-economic projections are being allotted. From this step 1 and step 2, some specification of alternate transportation plans are proposed. Okay, so it will be based on the result of step 1 and step 2. So after this, in step 4, capital and maintenance cost of each alternative plan will be computed or will be calculated. So from step 1 and step 2, you get the target year population and economic growth. In step 2, you get the land use allocation by socioeconomic projections. And then from step 1, by getting the inputs from step 1 and step 2, alternative transportation plans are proposed. And now from each of these alternative, what is the capital cost that has to go? Like what is the initial investment, and then what will be the maintenance cost for each plan? Okay, so this is actually cost study. So in any transportation planning, or I think in highway engineering also, you would have studied cost benefit analysis, right? So first study is about the cost and second study is on benefit. So this study combinedly is known as cost benefit analysis. So after that, what happens is based on the forecasting model. So this also we will be seeing in the next module, how the targeted forecasting model is being computed. From this and from the economic projection of step 2, the various characteristics of the transportation alternatives are studied. Then this equilibrium flow is being converted to benefit. So from this you get cost benefit analysis. Now from step 3 and from step 6, so that means comparative evaluation and then selection of best alternatives are analyzed based on step 6. Okay, so in step 3 we have computed what are the alternatives, and step 6 we have computed the benefits. That means what is the benefit the user has. The step 4 was what was the cost that was coming. In step 6, what is the benefit for the user. Okay, so based on this step 3 and step 6, then finally a comparative evaluation and selection of best alternative is being done in step 7. Okay, so these are the important steps in transportation, in any transportation planning process. So this also we have seen how the three main points are about. So first is you have to define the problem, then you have to identify the need, and then solution has to be generated and analyzed. So in problem definition, the you should be having some objective or goal of planning. Okay, problem is defined by defining the objective or goal of planning. So that is, I think, since you have started off with your final year project, you will know how to define the objective or how to get the goal of your work. So it can be, the objective can be, an example what I can give you is, it can be to develop a transport system that can cater to all section of society, thereby promoting inclusive development rather than looking into only one point or one POC as the as a development zone. The entire society is included for developing. That can be one problem, sorry, one goal, or to develop a transport system that includes each member of the society. That can be one objective. Another objective could be to minimize the system cost and to provide self-operation, right? So to provide the, to reduce the cost, what kind of transport system can be developed? That can be one objective. Another objective can be to develop a transport system that is, sustainable in nature. So we can see different objective, or we can look into how this objective will be defined as looking at the study area. Okay, based on the study area, you identify a problem. If the problem is not there, you identify an objective, how, or you define an objective to develop a transport plan or to develop a transport system. So after the problem identification, then it is identification of the need. So in this, you have to prepare a database of the existing system. So currently a system will be in place. So the database of the system that is in place, and then what might be the future demand. Suppose you are defined this objective, but will this, if a transport system is being developed, will it be utilized? So that future forecast should also be done, and then interpolation of the objective should be done. So after this second stage, then next is solution generation and analysis. So based on whatever type of problem that you have defined in stage 1, then solution has to be generated, and the solution generated has to be analyzed based on, I have told you, you have several alternatives. Like if any solution has been provided, there should be some, you provide 3 to 4 alternatives. So from this 3 to 4 alternatives, each of the alternatives will be analyzed. So some choices, like, either you can have a choice or between whether you have to depend on roadway, railway, waterway, or airway. Then the technological aspect, such as whether you have to go for high-speed train, then race monorail, underground transit system. So these are some technological aspect that can come into. Then traffic engineering aspects, such as whether you have to, improve the flow pattern by making certain road one way, and then reducing delay or on some road or some street, then improve the signal system, or have a grade separated intersection, right? You know what grade separated intersection is. Then whether, at some intersection some movement should be restricted. So this can be one solution. Then you can have regulatory aspects, such as, you reserve some part of the road or some part of the land only for high occupancy vehicles, and then they disallow high polluting vehicles, then imposing speed limits. So these are the several solutions that can be generated. So each solution cannot be used for every other problem. So based on what problem you have identified in the first stage, and then whether actually you should go for some changes in second stage, then you think about solution generation, and then you analyze. So for this analysis part, at the end of the class, I will give you one case. I want your view on which, how will you choose, or which plan can be worked out. Okay. So this is a typical urban transport system planning process. You have the inventories. Inventories are nothing but the database. So typical database for any urban transport system is you have the transportation facilities. So what is the current transportation facilities available? Then what is the typical land use? And then the travel pattern. Okay. So based on this, forecasting has to be done, right? So based on the transportation facilities that are currently there. So inventories is nothing but the current database that is available with you. So if you look at Yelahanka, so what are the transportation facilities available there? That has to be analyzed. Then what is the land use pattern over there? So you have commercial malls, then you have office space, right? Then you have to see what is the frequency of travel in that location. So these are the database that you will be having. Based on this database, you have to forecast. You have to forecast what? You have to forecast the population. Then you will be forecasting the economic activity, and then you will forecast the land use. This we have discussed in the previous slides. After that, the travel has to be forecasted. So this is done by trip generation, trip distribution, and then you estimate the future travel demand. So these 3 points are discussed in module. This is discussed in module 2. This is discussed in module 3. Land use is discussed in module 4. So from this, based on the land use that you have got over here, and based on the transportation, based on the forecasting, a plan has been prepared. So when the plan has been prepared, you have to integrate land use and the transportation system, and then it has to be tested. So this testing also we will see in the coming module. So this flow chart you have to remember. So this will be quite easy when when we discuss the classical model of urban transport system. So you have the database. From the database, you forecast land use, and then you forecast travel, right? So travel, and based on transportation facility and land use, you forecast the land use. From the travel data available, you forecast what will be the travel in the coming, maybe in the target year. From this, a plan is being prepared, and then it has been tested, and then the plan will be evaluated. So first you prepare the plan, then the plan is being tested. So these 3 terms will be more clear when we discuss the classic model. Then you do the testing, you evaluate, and then based on the objectives and standards, you again revise the plan. Okay, so this is a typical urban transport system planning process. So based on the plan that is being developed, you have to choose which alternative you have to adopt. So the criteria for adopting any plan mainly depend on these 5 parameters. One is the financial, based on the financial evaluation. Next is economical evaluation. Third is land use wise and based on demography. Then technological wise, and then last one is based on environmental, considering environmental aspects. So in financial feasibility studies, what is usually done is the cost of each alternative, of any particular alternative, is being analyzed both in terms of the capital investment and the maintenance. Okay, how much should actually go into the project, and then what might be the maintenance cost, and then how the capital cost will be structured, like whether the investment will be phased over a period of time. So how the investment is going to be. Then to determine whether it is possible to meet the cost of alternative based on budgetary consideration. So these are the 3 main points you have to you will be checking for any alternative in financial feasibility analysis. That is, first you have to understand whether each of the alternative, okay, which one will be better in terms of capital investment and maintenance. Second, how the investment is going to come for the project. And third one is whether it is possible to meet the cost of alternative based on the budget that is being allotted. Second is in economical or economic impact analysis. So in this, the main objective is to assess the various economic effect of any alternative in terms of, so here it need not be in terms of money, but it can be the important benefit from any transportation plan should be the travel time of the user. So you will be analyzing the travel time of the user. Then is there any improved business opportunity? And then is there any improved accessibility to various locations? So if there are n alternatives, so each of the alternatives, these points will be considered. Then third is land use and demography impact analysis. So like, if land use of an area from an unused low land to a shopping complex or a large hospital. And sometimes, change in land use can even change in what? Change in the demographic statistics of the area. Like you have a bypass coming up. So what happens is people need to be relocated. So that actually changes the demographic status of that area. Then whether there is, there is better connectivity between the city center and the rural area, which can also lead to what? Which can also lead to high economic, which can lead to shift of high economic group of people from the city to these areas. So this can also happen. Then based on technology, like whether this alternative is technically achievable or not, because the scenario in each country is different, or each region is different. Only because a plan has been proposed, it doesn't mean that it can be technologically achieved. So the feature of each alternative. So these technological aspects mainly come in signalization of some area, or proposal of high speed trains or monorails. Okay. Then technical requirement and their feasibility should be studied. Okay. So this high speed, if you have come across high speed train facility, the same facility cannot be opted in every other region, right? It should be technologically, it means it can be based on the soil condition. It can be based on the structural condition. It can be based on the region. It can be based on the region region also. So this technological or technically whether it is achievable or not should also be studied. Then you have environment impact analysis. So in this, you know, the construction or use of any major transport facility, will it impact or will it have a direct impact on environment? That should also be studied. So sometimes you usually see the construction of so and so, high speed train track or the monorail track or the metro track is at the cost of cutting down so many trees, or at the cost of the suburbs. So this impact on the environment should also be looked into. So construction of the facility can change the natural feature of a land. Then use of vehicles can increase the air and noise pollution level. Okay, so this should also be looked into. So I will quickly show you one template. So I hope this is uh, visible for you. So this is the guidelines for preparation of detailed project report for integrated mass transit system development plan. That is for bus based or rail based. So these are the this is the typical report, detailed project report, how it should be looking like. In chapter 1, a profile of the city should be given. In the profile of the city, general historical background and location. Then 1.3 should be demographic and social economic profile, and 1.4 should be land use structure. Okay. Then you have the inventories, like existing transportation system in the city. So in that, vehicle growth and composition, then road network characteristics, and what are the major transportation nodes, then what is pedestrian and non-motorized vehicle facilities, then what is the current traffic management that includes parking management, then what are the traffic characteristics, then traffic safety, then what is the intermediate public transit system, then what is the typical public transportation system, Then what are the issues in prospectus? So that should be 2.11. So in 2.0, existing transportation system in the city is being studied. In 3.0, travel characteristics is being studied. 4.0, comprehensive mobility plan will be developed. Okay. So here we will see how they have how land use, integrating land use and transportation by using land as the resource. So these are the features that should be there in the report. After that, see financial planning and cost estimate, then sustainability analysis of the system. So this is how the plan is being, or how a typical report for any transportation plan should be looking like. So I'll show you one more report template. So this was developed under Cities Development Initiative for Asia. So the investment proposal one, they had, so this was for investment proposal for ferry services, priority lanes and pedestrian presence in Cochin Port. So here you can see how they have done the study. See, economic analysis has been done, then sensitivity analysis has been done. So this has been done for each project. So financial analysis. And then SWOT analysis, that is the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats for the project. Then a PLEST analysis, that is the political, legal, economic, social, and technological analysis. Okay, then for each of the proposal, that means first one was a ferry service, second was a ferry terminal, and third was park and ride facility. So the benefit from each of the proposal is being studied here. So this is the project number, like they had 5 project proposals. So what is the impact of all these projects, like based on social policy analysis? So that is also being done. And then finally, based on all these studies, an alternative will be chosen. So here you can see route 1, route 2, route 3, route 4, route 5. So what is the greenhouse gas emission savings? Okay, so each of these, so they have computed the passenger trips in each route. Then what would be the annual emission from modal shift? Modal shift means if the mode of transport has been shifted, then annual emission due to congestion, then emissions due to constructions. All these alternatives are being checked. And then finally, based on all these analysis, an alternative will be chosen. So these 2 report formats I will share with you. You can go through after the class. Now, based on this, alternatives will be implemented. So, alternatives are implemented based on after considering the implication of various alternatives. So, alternatives will be rated from most advisable to the least. So, and from this, most advisable alternative can be chosen for implementation. Then the planning task will be ending with with the development of a detailed roadmap. So after this, the agencies and instruments that will be used to finance the project has to be identified. Then which agency or organization will be implementing the project on ground has to be identified. And then the agencies that has to be entrusted with maintaining and operating the facilities has to be identified. And then the operating strategy has to be identified. So if you look into a typical highway that has been developed, you usually see a toll plaza, right? So first, an agency or instrument that will be used to finance the project. So sometimes it can be used from the PM fund. Sometimes the government itself will be depending on some financing institution. Okay, after that, which organization will implement the project? So some usually you used to find L&T, right? Or NHAI will be doing the project and they will be taking up L&T's help. So then the agency to be interested with maintaining and operating. So that is why usually you find the toll collection at the toll plaza. And then what will be the operating strategy? So this is how a typical project will be going. Okay, so first you have to identify the implication of all the alternatives, and then they have to be rated from the most advised to the least advised. Then the best advisable, or the most advisable alternative will be chosen. So these are the typical activities that will be involved in transportation analysis. So again, identifying the organization, then the planning work program. So in planning work, you have transportation plan, which will be developed for long range element, or transportation system management element. So in this, the entire transport system will be developed. In the second stage, that is transportation system management element, a part of the transport plan will be developed. So from this, the plan will be refined, and then transportation improvement program will be developed. So this is again a more advanced form of how transportation planning process will be conducted. So this flow chart you can go through. So now what are the challenges in transportation transportation plan development? So human behavior, then the size of the problem, multimodal. Multimodal means you have two-wheel, you have motorized vehicle and non-motorized vehicle. In motorized vehicle, you have again different categories of vehicle. That is nothing but the mode of transport. Then what technology has to be selected. Then again, the problem is multi-objective, it's multi-criterion, multi-spectral. Then what is the value or the cost of the system? Then you have to squeeze in the space availability, and then environmental aspects. So these are the main challenges that are there for proposing any urban transportation planning system. So now let us see what transport modeling is. So before knowing transport modeling, you should know what modeling is about. So when there is a difficult or a complex problem, it is difficult for the human brain to understand and perceive all the factors that has to be put in. So that is why modeling is being done. So again, modeling, you have physical modeling, symbolic modeling, and mathematical modeling. So the first picture that you see over here, this is nothing but a physical model of an aircraft. Okay. So second one is a symbolic modeling. In symbolic modeling, line diagrams or space diagrams are being used to define any process. So here you can see Q3, Q6, Q9, Q5. So these are several processes, and line diagrams are used to connect these processes. Mathematical model, a typical equation. So here this is a differential equation for heating and cooling. So, and also Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared, Newton's law of motion. So all these are mathematical model. Like suppose you give some parameter, you input the parameter, you'll be getting the change, or you get the output over here. Okay, so this is physical model, symbolic model, and mathematical model. So modeling is being done by any engineer or by any researcher is to simplify the complex problems. So in any other engineering models, so what in transport modeling also you have modeling tools, and the parameters that these modeling tools depend are on economics, then psychology, geography, sociology, and statistics, right? It's not only the engineering aspects, but you have these many parameters coming into picture. So now let's see what transport demand is. So you might be wondering why this flow chart is given over here. So transport demand is a derived demand. I don't know whether you have whether you had any topics on economics. So if you have done the course on construction management, I hope you would have gone through demand and supply curve. So a transport demand is a derived demand. So derived demand means the demand is not direct, but it is being derived to meet some other requirement. So here we will see, you can see the flow chart which shows increase in demand for mobile phone. So the moment there is some increase in demand for mobile phone, the direct demands are the increase in usage of lithium batteries, glass screen, microchips. So these are derived demand. The demand for lithium battery is increasing because there is an increase in demand for mobile phone. The demand for glass screen is increasing because there is an increase in demand for mobile phone. So due to this increase in demand for mobile phone, the demand for lithium battery, glass screen, and microchips are increasing. So this is a derived demand or a direct demand. Now, based on this demand for increase in demand for mobile phones, you have indirect demand also. So indirect is nothing but the retail premises will be increasing. There is an increase in demand for mobile phones. So obviously, more shops will be opened up for selling these. Then more production means more energy and oil consumption. And obviously, the places wherever you have this retail premises, the food services will also be increased. So this is a typical example to show what derived demand is. Okay. So transport demand is about what? It's about the movement of people and good, and they travel by in order to satisfy the need. The need can be work, it can be education, or it can be recreation. And the transport good is also part for overall economic activity. So the work-related activity commonly involve what? Commuting between place of residence and workplace. So here you have supply and demand. So supply of work is from the residence and the demand of labor is at the workplace. So the derived demand is nothing but the transport, right? The supplies for of work is coming from the residence and the demand of labor is at the workplace. So you have this supply demand. So due to this demand, transportation facilities or commuting facilities are in demand. So this transportation facility demand is occurring because of demand of labor. So that is why transport demand is known as derived demand. Now travel demand modeling is being done by predicting what travel decisions people would like to make given the generalized travel cost of each alternative, right? Suppose you have to travel from place A to place B. You will be looking at several alternatives. One will be the distance between the 2 points, the traffic congestion. At the end of the day, everything depends on what travel cost. That includes both the cost that is coming for fuel and also the travel time. Whenever travel cost has been given, you have to consider both time and money, right? Travel cost can come in terms of monetary benefit as well as in terms of saving in time. So whenever you have to decide the traveling options or traveling choice, sometimes you might end up traveling extra 50 kilometers only because the road, or extra 20 kilometers at the expense of what? At the expense of the vehicle, right? Rather than traveling on or along a 5 kilometer road which gives cost on your vehicle maintenance, it is better to travel an additional 15 kilometer without any maintenance cost on your vehicle. So this depends, or this travel decision depends on the people. So the base decisions actually include what? The choice of destination, the choice of mode, and choice of route. Like when you have to travel, you choose which destination you have to travel to, then how you are going to travel, whether you're going in your four-wheeler or in your two-wheeler, or it depends on public transport, right? And then in which route you intend to choose. Based on the mode, the route will also change. So this classic transport model is popularly known as the four-stage model, or FSM. So this is the classic transport model. You have trip generation, trip distribution, model split, and traffic assignment. So this will be discussed in module 3, module 4, and module 5. So this has been typically done by considering the land use data, then the travel generation factors, then the friction of distance factors, calibration factors, and transportation network. So all these terms will be quite new for you. So we will be discussing all these in the upcoming modules. Okay, so trip generation, trip distribution, model split, and traffic assignment. This is nothing but the classic transport model. Okay, so with this, we will end the class. So in today's class, we have seen the transportation planning process, several stages, how the choices are being evaluated. So you have economic, then financial analysis, social analysis, technical analysis, and then environmental analysis. How do you implement these alternatives? Then what are the challenges in transportation planning process? Then you have seen travel modeling, and then what is travel demand? Travel demand is nothing but what? Derived demand. And then we have seen what four-stage travel demand model is. So in the next lecture, we will see what mass rapid system is. Okay, so with this, we will conclude today's class. Thank you. So now, as I have